Hey guys, it's Sam and I'm back with another card up on the lawnfawn blog today. I used images from I Like You a Lotl, Ocean, shell-fie, and Life is Good. I knew I was going to get tongue twisted. I also used dies from Stitched Hillside Borders, Fancy Wavy Banners, the coordinating dies for the stamp sets, and of course the Shadow Box card die. Phew! I stamped all of my images, and at this point I wasn't exactly sure what the card was going to look like other than it was going to be a 3D shadow box card. So as I was stamping all of the seaweed, and the rocks, I kind of got the idea of what I wanted to do, and I am needing a third little critter. I also stamped that cute little clam, but I don't end up using him. But we'll get to that later. And of course, the castle from Life is Good, and just one tiny little image, some little coral from that stamp set. As always, I am coloring by spritzing some water on my craft mat, and I have a paper towel handy to wipe off any excess water from my water brush, which is empty. I just use the spritzes of water for to get the bristles damp to spread my color out. And I'm only going to be coloring one image of each of these groupings, like one critter, one or two seaweeds, one rock or whatever, because I basically color them all the same. The critters are all different shades of pink, but I mean, it's really simple coloring, just a little bit of shading, and of course, pink cheeks, and the ears and part of the tail is always a little bit darker than the face and the body. I think these little guys are so adorable. I want them in like 100 different positions. I want them swimming sideways and jumping out of the water. Oh, so cute. Okay, so for the leafy seaweed, I used greens and a yellow. And for the, how would you describe that? Small leafy seaweed, I am using teals and mint greens. And then just two different shades of gray for the rocks. Nothing fancy. And for the castle, which I guess if you had to say I took the most time with, but again, this is all like such simple coloring, not even that much shading, but there is a tiny bit. I am using a couple different shades of brown. I just wanted a little bit of shading, so I used the dark brown in the edges of the sandcastle, and then you'll see when I finish coloring the images, I add some dot details to the rocks with the gray markers and some dot details to the sandcastle as well to mimic sand. I also add white dots too, which just makes it look like granular and like a sandcastle instead of, you know, a princess castle. I do color that coral seaweed, I don't know exactly what it is, just in teals. So nothing, they're all the seaweed is like kind of a different color. And there they are, all colored. So cute. Okay, next up, everything is die cut for the shadow box card. And I'm just going to start by distress inking all the things. All the things. I am using vintage photo in fossilized amber for all of the sandy bottom of the sea images, I guess, or strips. I took out the castle so I could kind of try to get a similar color. It's not going to be an exact match, but it is, you know, it is kind of close. I used my fossilized amber to ink blend the whole things in that warm yellow color. And then I used vintage photo to go over it, darker at the bottom, and then just a little bit at the top to blend it all together. I do this on the 3 sandy floors that I'm putting inside the shadow box card, as well as 2 long strips I die cut with the stitched hillside border dies. And I did it all at the same time, and then I am lining them up, and I'm going to spritz water on top, ink color. So I'm using the vintage photo and some walnut stain, and fossilized amber ink color. And then I will also add the white acrylic paint on top so that this also has the granular detail similar to the castle that I just colored. So lots of splattering, all the splatters. It gets super messy, and I like it. I like it when it's messy. And then I'm going to add my liquid white acrylic paint, splatter that on top too, get it everywhere. I was very brave with my images that close. Brave or dumb, you decide. Next, I have the shadow box parts themselves die cut from Mermaid cardstock, and I'm using Wilted Violet Distress Ink and Mermaid Lagoon Distress Ink on top, just to add a little bit of depth to the card. This is the point where I had forgotten that I also wanted to ink blend inside of those pieces, since we will see inside as well as outside. But as I said, totally slipped my mind. I was just cruising along, ink blending, wanted to make sure they were the same levels on each of those panels, and totally forgot to flip them over, which is fine. It's not a huge, I mean, you can't tell 100% when you first look at the card, but I do wish I had remembered. I do wish I had remembered that small detail. Now that these are done, I'm going to, you guessed it, splatter water and white acrylic paint on top. But I do get smart and move my images before I start going crazy with the white paint, because that can go everywhere. Ask me how I know. Look, I'm like, oh, I'll splatter to the top now. Oh yeah, let's move those. Good thinking, Sam. Anyway, splattering, that's what I do. Next, while that is set aside to dry, I am going to heat emboss the sentiment. I had some vellum cardstock that I die cut with the fancy wavy banner, and I'm just heat embossing in white the sentiment, and that way it's all ready when I can assemble the card and it's all dry. And with the magic of TV, YouTube, the magic of YouTube, it's all dry and ready for me to assemble. Now, let me just remind you, if you are new or you forgot because it's been a while since I posted a video, I am super fancy and I always know exactly what I'm doing. Just kidding. It's the opposite of both. Anyway, I think I know what I'm doing here. I am putting the long strips that I had die cut with the stitched hillside borders on the outside of my panels. And then I'm like, let me check to make sure how I know how to assemble this card. So I quick YouTubed the intro video that they did for the shadow box die set. Thank you for having those available. And now I'm just going to attach my cards. I put some thin, really strong adhesive on the sides of those sandy ocean floors, line them up inside my panel, took off all of the release paper, then added some of that tape to the last edge, took it off, folded over all the panels on the left and then on the right, and then used my bone folder to burnish it all. And this is the fun part. This is when you get to add all your fun pieces that you colored. And I did not have a plan, people. I should have planned it all out, but I thought I would just wing it. So that's what I did. And it's pretty good. So first I put the castle down, then that cute little critter behind it. He will move, but not till the very end. So the glue will be dry. We'll get to that in a minute. And I'm just adding some of the seaweeds. I'm mixing up which seaweeds are where, adding some rocks to the sides. Then I decided that cute critter had to be front and center. So he's going to go in the front eventually. And then I'm adding the seaweed and rocks and making just little scenes on every little panel. The side panels, I guess, are the most boring if you had to pick, because there's no cute little critter or sentiment or anything. I saved those for the front and the back. But I love how they still continue the scene all the way around. So any way you look at it, it's, you know, it's under the sea and in the ocean. And I'm just going to glue with the lawnfawn glue pen. Add my, at this point I'm like, whoa, slow down with the seaweed, Sam. I still need to add some seaweed to the front. And look, I wanted him in the front, but then I thought, oh, wouldn't it be cute if he peeks out from behind? So look, isn't that little guy in the back? He's down too far. So I knew I had to move him up higher so he was peeking out from behind the castle. And I'm going to do that right after that last seaweed. Right now, ripping it out. It took all of the ink blended color. You can see it right there. But that's okay. I was able to cover it back up. And you can't really tell. And then it's finished. I just have to add the sentiment with a little bit of glue. And I'm done. And I love it. And it's so fun and colorful. And hopefully it makes you smile. Thanks so much for joining me in this card making adventure. Be sure to check out the card on the Lawnfawn blog and have a great day. Bye!